My name is Sophia, and I'm the head of business development for Zilliqa. And together with me here today is Han is our developer. Just a little bit of background about my. Sorry. Okay, all right. Yeah, so just a little bit of background about myself. Before Zilliqa, I worked for a couple of years from traditional consulting industry, and so I spent the past few years dealing with enterprise sales and also delivering large-scale transformational projects to enterprise. So today, me and Han are going to talk to you guys in terms of like how Zilliqa has been bringing research to life. All right, so Zilliqa is a public blockchain platform, and we are based out of Singapore. So actually, we are going to celebrate our 2 years anniversary in the coming months. So I thought this is a great time for us to be here to have a little bit of recap and review in terms of like what we have been going through in the past years. So back in 2015, one of our co-founders published a research paper and presented in one of the top conferences about how to implement sharding to scale on a public blockchain. So 2 years later, in 2017, a few co-founders started a company called Zilliqa. And earlier this year, in January, we have launched our mainnet. So with that makes us the world's first public blockchain that actually implements sharding to achieve that kind of level of scalability. So other than implementing sharding on a public blockchain, and there's another thing we are very, very committed about as well, is to implement a secure by design smart contract language. So therefore, we actually designed a smart contract language called Scilla. So this is something that Han will introduce more in details later. Okay, so I mean, despite all the contributions and all the progresses we have been made so far, and including all the other players have been contributing to this space in the past few years, I just want to remind everyone here, blockchain as a technology is still at a very early stage. For whoever are able to relate to the first Netscape browser when first came out during 1990s, and this is probably where we are for blockchain technology. Yeah, I don't know how many of you are able to relate back in 1990s. So over the past few days during consensus, I've been receiving questions from people in terms of like, hey, how do you think blockchain technology itself has been evolving over the past years? So I think very straightforward and transparent here is, if you come here to consensus last year, I think the keywords people have really been talking about is decentralization, scalability, security, and also including sharding, which is what Zilliqa is famous about. But coming to 2019, I think there's another word I would love to add on to the list, and this is a word we are very, very committed about as well, which is usability. So what does it mean by usability? It's really down to the concept of simple to use, simple to integrate, simple to scale as a business. You're going to make the product easier for developers, you're going to make the product easier for users, and easier for the business to scale. So I really like this quote, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. I love it because, you know, this kind of contradicting phrase allows people to create some kind of a new concept when they actually run out of idea how to overperform their peers in the original concept, such as like, smart is the new sexy, 30s is the new 20s. So I've been receiving feedback says, hey, Sophia, sometimes you look like a little bit cold and unfriendly. So probably I'm just gonna invent some phrases like RBF is the new friendly. Yeah, so this is also the philosophy we have been really committed about in terms of like designing our product. As a startup, one of the very constant reminder we keep in mind is actually to stay very clear and stay very focused in terms of what are we gonna do in each and every year, in short term and long terms. So therefore, we are very careful in terms of like selecting our partners, selecting our business verticals. So these are the three very important verticals that Zilliqa is very committed about in the 2019. So the first one is in the industry of digital advertising. So I'm not really sure whether any of you have read the news before. Actually, 2 weeks ago, we have just made a major announcement on the successful implementation of a major project. It's called Project Proton, partnering with PepsiCo and Mindshare. Mindshare is one of the top media agencies, and I guess I no need to introduce who is PepsiCo. So this is a blockchain project we did with Mindshare to help them to increase the programmatic advertising efficiency, and the results was increasing the efficiency by 28%. And the second vertical we are very, very focused about is financial services, to be specific, security tokens. So Zilliqa, together with 2 other partners in Singapore, we have launched a JV, which is a security token exchange named HG Exchange. So HG Exchange is going to be the South Asia's first member-driven exchange, which is going to enable tokenization and also trading of security tokenized assets, including security tokens. And the last one is a bit casual, is gaming industry. And we are constantly talking to gaming industry partners, and also we are working very closely with a few gaming studios in Asia in terms of producing good quality blockchain games. So a few of our partners, including Ethereum, Krypton from Beijing, and Mixed Marvel from Shanghai, who was famous for developing the game called Hyper Dragon. And in fact, in the next 1 to 2 months, we are going to, our partners are going to release their games on top of Zilliqa's blockchain. And we are very excited about it. So other than these 3 very important verticals that we are very, very focusing about, we are constantly talking to all kinds of industry partners and identify their business opportunities. Of course, there are more to come, and we are going to announce more news in the coming couple of months. So talking about, because we are going to launch first few games in the next 1 to 2 months, here I'm just gonna give you, okay, they didn't include my slides. Okay, I was supposed to show a very sneak preview of our gaming videos, but it's not here, so I guess it's all right. Yeah, but anyway, in all means, stay tuned for our updates and announcements. We are soon going to release our games in the next 1 to 2 months. Okay, so earlier I mentioned that one of the very focus area for us this year is to increase the usability. So other than constantly partner with our partners to working on devs ecosystems, we are working on a few areas to improve the usability as well. Of course, the first one is we are constantly working with our own developers and also our community developers in terms of developing the toolkits, including SDKs, stablecoins, libraries, etc. So these are going to be very important components to help us to improve the usability to the developers and users. And the second part is, of course, we are providing financial support because we want to make sure our developers, our partners, are in good shape to help us to complete the ecosystem. And the last one, feedback loop. What do I mean by feedback loop? Because we are working very closely with our partners, so we are actually building this very iterative and enclosed feedback loop where our partners can feedback their feedback to our commercial team, which our commercial team work very closely sitting together in the office with our tech team, and we can translate the business requirements to a technical document to our tech team, where our tech team can make the adjustment and improvement so that it can be feedback to the partners. So we want to create this very iterative and very efficient feedback loop so that our partners can get the best out of it. Okay, so we are constantly talking to our partners in terms of why do they have to use Zilliqa's platform. So I guess we have a long list of reasons in terms of we are faster, we are more scalable, we are more secured in terms of because we have a more secure smart contract language. But I think The closest to everyone's heart, why do you choose one platform, not the other? And the most apparent reason is the extremely low gas fee, so that our developers and users are able to use our network and can utilize our network without worrying one day if the network is being congested. They have to be penalized by paying a high gas fee. So with that, I'm going to hand over to my colleague Han-Wen to talk more about ecosystem grant.
No? Okay. There we go. Hi, everyone. I'm Han-Wen. You can call me Han. I'm the grant manager at Zilliqa. What I handle is the ecosystem grant at Zilliqa. And I'm here to share with you some updates on how the grant program has evolved over this 8 months that has been created. So we have committed up to 42 projects in this grant program. And we are currently enrolling the 4th wave of the grantees. And at the end of this wave 4, it will be the anniversary of this grant program, so yay. And we are trying to make it so that our grantees will always launch the products, and we give financial advices, legal advices, and also technical advices to them. And up to now, we're quite proud to say that we have 78% project completion rate, all the way from like no products, trying to come up with deliverables for them, creating MVP, and launch the products. So at 78% to me is actually quite impressive. And we are quite happy to say that we have quite a diverse group of developers that's working on this grant program. And they span over like 17 different countries, 3 continents, and 3 different time zones. And I, as a grant manager myself, sometimes I can't really sleep because of the time zone differences. And so these are snippets of all the grant programs grant projects that's already launched on top of Zilliqa. As some of you may know that unstoppable domains has been quite loud in this space for quite a while over the past month. So what they're trying to do is to bring domain names on top of Zilliqa, write the registries of your name services on top of the smart contracts on top of Zilliqa. And there are some wallets that's been created, such as Moonlit, which is an agnostic wallet for you to hold all your assets, different kind of assets on top of this wallet. It's blockchain agnostic, so you can store any kind of crypto assets on top of it. And we have some people creating API services for developers, such as Ashla team. They created not just that, they actually created also an explorer for you to visualize the transactions real time and take a look at it instead of on your command line. And we also have some really awesome mobile wallets out there. So if you have an iPhone right here, just search Zip or Zengo. You can download these 2 wallets. It's a safe and secure, simple UI wallet that's just sent and received. And Zengo is actually very unique because there's no private key to the wallet. And how they work, you can check out more at zengo.com. We also have several other developer toolings such as Composite and Firestack that creates different kind of SDKs, IDEs, frameworks for you to deploy, test, and also migrate contracts from the developer testnet during development times, all the way to the production-ready stage to launch on the Zilliqa mainnet. And although we have quite a few successes with all these products, we always realize that there's always room for improvements. So we structured the grant program into this way. Now, since Wave 4, we implemented this streaming program, which is that there will be, to try to cater to different kinds of applicants to the grant program. If there are developers who wish to build infrastructure, layer toolings, libraries, they would choose the infrastructure track. But if there's any entrepreneurs in this area who wants to apply to the Zilliqa grant program, they can choose the innovation track, which is catered to entrepreneurs who want to build dApps on top of Zilliqa. And also, there's a research track that we created so that this is catered towards the researchers who want to work together with Zilliqa Research. As you know, Zilliqa Research is actually a bunch of academics. Our founders are mostly from different academic schools, and you can work alongside us to try to tackle some of the most pressing issues in this industry, such as Schnorr signature implementation, Taproot, scaling solutions such as sharding technology, state sharding technology, and so on and so forth. And to try to make this innovation track work, we try to partner with Longhash, which is actually an incubator program. And they are creating an accelerator program together with us. And we're proud to announce that this program is going to start at Q3 this year, and it's going to end at Q4 this year, lasting 3 months. So what do these people do when they go into the accelerator program? They will create teams. They would come together, create some teams, and at the end of the program, they will create an MVP and have a demo day and present to different VCs and funds. So hopefully we'll get some of their money and try to create useful products and bring it to the real world. So that's all for the grant updates that we have. But also at the same time, I want to update everyone on the technical roadmap for Zilliqa. Because Zilliqa has already launched its mainnet. So what now? Right now, the most immediate situation right now is that we have to enable the smart contracts that we have promised so far. Smart contracts interactions will be enabled on the 10th of June this year. So look forward to it, because that will be the date where all the apps will be launched, and also our partners will be launching, such as Boat, which is the entertainment application. MyShare will be using some of the public blockchain for some of these pilot programs, and we'll see to more developers onboarding the Zilliqa ecosystem. So to recap, what we have done so far also is that we have created the first world sharded blockchain with network sharding, transaction sharding, and that promise give you linear scalability as more nodes join the network. So where does actually Zilliqa place on the chart right now? This is the infamous dilemma of blockchains that Vlad Zamfir have made famous. And Zilliqa currently places where the red dot is. We have reasonable latency for finality. We have a 1.3 minutes block time, and we have low overhead, so we can include a lot of transactions within the block. So we can reach something like 1,000 TPS, and we can include a large number of nodes, and it's not restricted to like 21 nodes or something. So we have 2,400 nodes within the current mainnet that we have, and they each form a group of 600 shards, so that's 4 shards in total. So how can we improve this platform this year? What we want to do is to optimize the platform as much as possible. We want to make the latency for finality even shorter, so to do something like a sub 1 minute block time, and 40 seconds is our target right now. And we want to optimize the communications overhead in the blockchain and the protocol so that we can have more transactions included in the block and have 3,000 TPS at the end of this year. And we want to try to include more shards into the network. Right now it's capped at 4 shards, and we want to make it into 6 so we can have more public nodes joining our network. So that would be 3,600. The aim of everything is actually to try to bring the Zilliqa platform closer to the middle of this dilemma of the triangle, and is try to get the best of all 3 worlds. And for the domain-specific language that we have created called Scilla, we currently offer several features, such as decidable contracts, being able to write static analysis tracker, and there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do. Later I will share with you more. And there's also clean separations between communications and computation, so you don't have to worry about re-entrancy problems that you have faced in some of the Solidity contracts in the previous decade. And Scilla also includes some sort of security features built on the language level itself, so you don't have to import safe math libraries from OpenZeppelin and so on. Everything is built for the developers, so you just have to write your contract and not worry about anything. And of course, Scilla is actually written so that it's amenable to formal verification. What does formal verification means is that you can write mathematical proofs to prove that your conditions in a contract will never be violated forever. So this is actually very useful for people, because if, let's say, you have $100 million worth of money that's stored in a multi-sig contract, you want to make sure that this contract will never fail. So that's what formal verification is for. And that's actually one of the reasons why many of the big companies don't want to use smart contracts to store their funds. So this is the evolution of how smart contract goes, in my opinion. One of the really cool static checker that we have created is called cash flow analyzer. So if you let's say you have some temporary variables that you want to read from the state variables, like the amount, sender, balance, and this address of the contract, it can always tell you whether it's money, it's not money. So this allows developers to know whether they have violated any logical errors within the contract, so they can debug it before they deploy it on the mainnet, so to prevent any errors from occurring. It's actually quite simple to use. You just put a CF tag line, and you can get a JSON output like this. So in this case, this is a crowdfunding contract that tells you that the backer mapped of the address to the amount they have donated is considered as a money. So this is how it works. How do we plan to improve Scilla as the language from now on? Now that the language is ready, production ready, we want to actually formally verify the Scilla interpreter so that they give you the guarantee that the outcome that comes out to the interpreter will always be correct. And we want to support higher level languages. Actually, Scilla itself is an intermediate level language. So in order to gain even more adoption of Scilla itself, we are working closely together with the Ethereum Foundation to try to bring Solidity, to compile it down to Scilla. And there's other higher level languages that we're looking into, like Vipo and also Python. So there's other more modular static analysis checker that we're working towards. So just now, the cash flow analysis is one of the few things that you can do with it. Actually, there's a lot of things that you can imagine. So for example, like you can check whether there's unused variables, you can check whether there's double spending within your logic, and so on and so forth. Of course, well, when it comes down to comparison, Scilla interpreter right now actually outperforms EVM for a map entry of 200,000 and below. But beyond that, it actually exponentially decreased in performance. So what we want to do is to try to improve the I/O performance of the interpreter, and also in the long term, we want to compile it down to bytecodes in LLVM, so to gain more performance. And what kind of developer tooling is currently available for Zilliqa? We currently have SDKs in all the major languages that's used in the world, such as JavaScript, Java, Go, Ruby, and C#. And we currently have hosted API services for all developers, so they don't have to host the nodes themselves, and it's quite hard to sync from the Ethereum space. But this is why we created hosted APIs in the first place. So, and also another thing is that we created some analytics tools for you to visualize your contracts, visualize your transactions, so that you don't have to just keep looking at your terminal screen and wait for confirmation, and you can visualize what's going on in the network. And what we are planning to do to improve the toolings is to have high-level SDKs that's built on top of the current SDKs that we provided, such as Unity and Cocos SDKs, so all the game developers in this place could actually create a game without worrying too much about applications development. And of course, we want to create more relational data queries, and GraphQL is something that we're looking at. So it's going to be a layer 2 API for all your decentralized applications. And of course, because latency in blockchain is always an issue. Public blockchains will always have latency, and unless you're a private blockchain. So what we wanted to create is a plug-and-play layer 2 solution for you. You can spin up an AWS or Google Cloud instance and just let it do the batch transaction handling. So it will periodically commit to the main chain, and that will be the centralized layer that you can have within your application. And of course, just now when we talk about analytics tools, we want to try to improve the real-time scenario that it gives for you to visualize. Because right now we have a latency of about 10 seconds for your visualization of your transactions, but we want to make it real-time in the near future. So with that, we come to the end of this presentation. I hope that I didn't bore all of you guys with all the things that I've said so far. And if you guys are developers and want to join the developer scene in Zilliqa, the ecosystem, please scan the left side, left QR code, and that will bring you to the Github channel that we have, where all the developers are chatting. And of course, if you have any innovative ideas that you want to bring into life, you can approach me, or you can scan the QR code on the right. That will lead you to the application form for the grant program. Thank you very much for your time, and I'll bring it back to Eric, who's going to be moderating the Q&A.
Yeah, thank you very much. Round of applause, come on. So I think, just to kick it off, one of the things that I was thinking, during the presentation and kind of listening to all these presentations here today, and just speaking to people, it seems like there are many smart contract platforms out there. So, if you were just to give a distilled pitch to developers, why would you build on Zilliqa? What would you say the main points are for people out there that might be considering, I want to build something, I want to build a dApp, but I just don't know where to build it?
There's two things that we offer. is that first is my colleague says that we have lower transactions fees because of the sharded architecture behind it. And when more nodes join the network, it supposedly scale the network. So in theory, you can see a flat line of what the transaction fees will be for the gas fees. And also another thing is that this smart contract language that we created for this platform is lets you do formal verifications, prevents you from making mistakes as a developer itself, because we abstract all the best practices for you. So you don't have to worry too much about all these things that you have to keep in mind before you even start your project. So that's why I think that with these two advantages of our products, we would think that developers would choose Zilliqa as the platform of choice.
And I think like a few features of the platform kind of lend themselves towards specific applications like high TPS and things like that. Looking at people that are building on the platform now and some of the early successes you've had with partnerships, where do you see the current interest? Like what do you see actually being built right now? And maybe it's not some of these high profile things, but maybe just talking to people, developers in the community, what do you see people most interested in building?
Right now, I see a lot of interest in stablecoins, and everyone is trying to create their own stablecoin. Like JPM created a JPM coin. So, in my opinion, is that fungibility of stablecoins is actually very hard to do. And if you want to try to withdraw your stablecoin for fiat, it's really a complicated process. You need to have something like a JPM network, or you need to have something like the Tether network where you can have so many different partners of exchanges. If you just create a stable coin that works within one exchange, it's actually quite useless. So what I actually really want this ecosystem to do is to create prediction markets. Ogre is doing a really great job right now, and we hope that we can have something like that on Zilliqa, where they can do much higher throughput transactions of their prediction markets, real-time settlement of all the markets, so that we can really have an oracle. Yeah.
Interesting. I have a couple more questions, but I just want to open it up. Does anyone in the audience have anything that they wanted to ask? It's a great opportunity while you have them here. So then my question actually was going back more on the technical side. You mentioned formal verification for the smart contracts and things like that. Are the smart contracts, do you see this kind of technology being similar to like Ethereum and other technologies like that, or do you guys have a specific flavor of smart contract that you use?
Okay, I think that question will be best directed as how do you do formal verification of a smart contract. Right now for Ethereum, to do that, you have to formally verify the bytecodes, but nobody actually reads bytecodes. It's impossible as a developer to read the bytecode itself. And for MakerDAO, they actually did formal verification of their contract, but they did it over a span of almost a year, because it takes them a long time just to do that. And so what Scilla does is to make it so that it's human readable, but at the same time it's also amenable and easy to write the proof that is required. So you don't have to spend a year doing so. You can actually spend maybe 2 or 3 months doing so. Shorten the entire development time spent by almost a factor of 70%. Yeah.
And then I think we're almost out of time here. So one more call from the audience. We can fit one question in. All right, my last question was just going to be, I don't know if you mentioned it on the slides, but in terms of the foundation and grants and things like that, do you guys have I've seen a lot of people that have specific budgets, and I don't know if you mentioned this, but do you have a specific budget that you're looking to spend every year, or is it just if something's exciting, you have the money and you'll give it to a developer?
No, actually we have a quite stringent budget. So for example, for this year, we are planning to spend $1 million worth of USD. And so far we have spent up to $350,000 for all the projects that has been so far. And we are looking to expand it aggressively. That's why we created this accelerator program that's together with Longhash. And we are actually planning to talk to some of the American companies such as CoinDesk to try to create something similar, not for the Southeast Asia market, but for the Americas market, to have a stake in to establish a foothold for Zilliqa in the US.
All right, well, this is the first panel that we've actually done right on time.